Dear students, in this video we would be discussing some of the most important current affairs of recent weeks. So let's begin. So the first piece of current affair that you should be aware of is the new IT policy that the government of India has rolled out for social media giants. So as per the new policy, government have defined or coined a new term, which is significant social media intermediary. Now what is the definition of this? So these are basically social media companies having 50 lakh or more registered users in India. So any company which crosses this threshold will be under the preview of this new law. So for example, Google, Facebook, Twitter, so all these platforms, social media platforms, have way more than 50 lakh users. So basically the purpose of this new policy or this new IT rule is to prevent the misuse of social media platforms. So as has been the case in recent year, that many social media posts have created communal tension as well as created political furor in the country. So to prevent and to keep an eye on all that, Government of India has come up with a new policy. So on which company will these policies be applicable? Only on those social media companies which have more than 50 lakh users in India. Fine. Now what are the new rules? So as per these new rules, each of these significant social media intermediaries have to compulsorily appoint 3 new officers. Fine. If they have to continue their business in India, they have to appoint 3 new officers. Now what are the name or positions of those 3 officers? You have to remember this: Chief Compliance Officer. So what is the meaning of Chief Compliance Officer? So he will be the officer who would be responsible to ensure that his company is complying to all the rules and all the new policy changes brought about by Government of India. So out of 3 new officers, first is Chief Compliance Officer. The second one is Nodal Contact Person. Suppose the government has got any grievance or any individual have got any grievance, so whom will he approach in the company? So there has to be an officer for that. So that person is known as Nodal Contact Person. So is the second officer. The third officer that the company will have to appoint is a Resident Grievance Officer. That means an officer who would be responsible of resolving the conflict. Once a complaint is received, somebody has to take action on that. So he is that officer, Resident Grievance Officer. One thing that you have to keep in mind, that all these 3 officers will have to maintain their offices here in India itself. So it is not the case that if it is an American company, so the headquarters or these officers will stay in America. No. If you have to do business in India, all these 3 officers will have to stay and take decisions in India itself. Now what are the new you can say guidelines? So as per the new guidelines, whenever the government or any of our court of our country asks these social media companies to remove contentious content, so they will have to oblige within 36 hours. So they will be given a window of 36 hours. So government or court will order them that so and so post is objectionable. So you have to take that down within 36 hours. In case there are posts that depict nudity or have some kind of morbid photo, so those type of posts will have to be taken down within 24 hours of receiving a complaint. Fine, because these are you can say related to dignity of an individual. So this time they are getting even lesser amount of time, only 24 hours of time. So these are some of the policy changes. So you have to remember the name of these 3 officers. Also all these 3 officers will have to stay in India, and On what kind of companies are these applicable? Only on those companies which have got more than 50 lakh registered users. So now let's move to the next one. So the second important current affair that you should be aware of is the new report published by Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. So as you know that Stockholm is the capital of Sweden. So this is basically a Swedish institute. So this report is about the military expenditure of various countries. So every country, almost every country has got their own army. So they have got their own military expenditures to take care of. So this report has compiled the military expenditure of all the countries of the world. So as per this report, the number one country on this list is United States. So this report is for the year 2020. So this report tells us that for third consecutive year, USA have kept on increasing its military expenditure. So prior to that, almost for 7 years, the military expenditure of United States have gone down, decreased. But for last 3 years, it has been consistently increased. So that is something remarkable that has come out on this report. The other remarkable fact that has come out is that the second position on this list goes to China, and it has been observed that for last 26 years China has been continuously increasing its budget. There has never been a single year in last 26 years that its budget has gone down, consistently increasing, and this is the longest uninterrupted increase by any country. Now coming to India, India ranks third on this list. So you can say that as of 2020, India was the third biggest military spender out of all the countries of the world. Now if you want to have a look at the precise data, so you must be aware of the military expenditure of India. You know this is a very important piece of information, so I have written this on top. So India's military expenditure for the year 2020 was 72.9 billion US dollars, 72.9, and the total global share was 3.7. that means combined military expenditure of all the countries put together, 3.7 of which was accounted by India alone. So India's expenditure 72.9 billion. India's rank third. Which is the number one country in terms of military expenditure? US. Number two, China. Now let's move to the next fact. So recently in Argentina, so we know that Argentina is a country in South American continent. So in Argentina there is a very big desert known as Patagonian desert. So in that desert, the fossil of the oldest known dinosaur. So we keep on finding fossils, as the many times scientists have discovered fossils and declared them to be the oldest. So this fossil is the oldest known fossil of any dinosaur. So this fossil belongs to a group of dinosaur known as Titanosaurus. So you have to remember a few facts. Where is this fossil found? In Patagonian desert of country's name Argentina. Whose fossil is it? It is a fossil of a dinosaur, and the family of dinosaur that it belongs to is known as Titanosaur. So the name given to this fossil is Ninja Titan. So Ninja Titan is the name given to this fossil. It belongs to a family of dinosaur known as Titanosaurus. So Titanosaurus were basically dinosaurs of the kind sauropod. So what are sauropod dinosaurs? So you can see sauropod dinosaurs were the dinosaurs who had long necks. Now what is the significance of this long neck? So they had long necks so that they can reach out to high trees, because trees back then, because dinosaurs have gone extinct, we know that almost a million years ago. So not all dinosaurs were meat eaters. Some of the dinosaurs used to eat plants, fruits. So they had long necks so that they can reach out to tall trees and eat their leaves. So Titanosaurus were kind of sauropod dinosaurs. So you have to remember fact, where is the oldest fossil found? In Argentina's Patagonian desert. Now let's move forward. So before proceeding any forward, dear students, I would like to make a sincere request to all of you. So if you are preparing for any competitive exams like SSC, banking, RRB, fine, railways, CDS, CLAT, so we have been consistently ranked number one by various rating agencies, and you can also visit our reviews. These reviews are the reviews given by our own ex-students. So you can visit and you will get to know that what makes us the best institute of North India. So you can when you visit our website, so for whichever exam you are preparing, you can see in great detail before purchasing any course. If you will click here, you will get to know that what all offerings are part of that course. So how many hours of video lectures would you be getting, how many test series would you be getting, so everything is detailed. So you will get information before you make any purchase. So if you are really serious about your career, so you can make the most of this lockdown, because during this lockdown you are not able to step out of your house, so your preparation has been hampered. So you don't have to worry at all. You can prepare online with us at a breakneck speed. So everything that you need for your preparation is available on our website. So this is our URL, vidyaguru.in. So after watching this video, I would request you to spend 2 to 3 minutes. It will be one of the best decisions of your life. So please visit this website at least once. So now let's move forward. So recently a very tragic news has come that Simlipal Biosphere Reserve was on fire for almost 2 weeks. So we know that Simlipal Biosphere Reserve is a jungle area. So it is a biosphere reserve. So what do we mean by biosphere reserve? So biosphere reserves are forest areas demarcated by government where no commercial activities can take place. It is government owned. You cannot hunt there, you cannot cut down trees, you cannot do any kind of commercial activity. So that is the concept of biosphere reserve. So Simlipal Biosphere Reserve is located at Odisha's Mayurbhanj district. So why was this in news? Because it caught fire and it kept burning for almost 2 weeks. So it was a international news. So we have to know a few facts about Simlipal because it was in news. So chances of it being asked in any exam becomes a bit higher. So Simlipal derives its name from a tree known as simul tree. So we derive silk and cotton from this simul tree. So simul tree gives the name to Simlipal. Now Simlipal is not only a biosphere reserve, but it is also a national park and a tiger reserve. Fine. So you have to know few more facts that Simlipal Biosphere Reserve is the Asia's second largest biosphere reserve of Asia and largest of India. So this biosphere reserve was added in the UNESCO's list of national park in the year 2009. So UNESCO maintains different kind of lists of heritage sites, list of endangered animals. So similarly it also maintains a list of national parks. So in that list this Simlipal Biosphere Reserve was added in the year 2009. Now from the static point of view, you should be aware that as of today there are 18 notified biosphere reserves in our country, the largest of which is Simlipal. Now let's move on. India's first centralized air conditioned railway terminal has just now inaugurated and it has become operational. So where is this located? So this railway station is located in the metro town of Bengaluru. So what is the name given to this railway terminal? So the name of this railway terminal is named after the great engineer Sir M. Visvesvaraya. So a few facts. This is the first centralized air conditioned railway terminal of our country. Where is it located? Located in Bengaluru. What is the name of the railway terminal? Sir M. Visvesvaraya. So the total cost incurred by Indian Railways in building this terminal was rupees 314 crores. Now, a few of you may not be aware of who Sir M. Visvesvaraya was. So, M. Visvesvaraya was a citizen of Karnataka, and he was the Diwan of Mysore between 1912 to 1917, and he was a very renowned engineer. Fine. So he is credited with building many great dams, many great reservoirs, especially when India gained independence. So he contributed a lot to nation building. So he is known as the best engineer India has produced so far. So for his contributions to nation building, he was awarded Bharat Ratna as well. So great salute to Sir M. Visvesvaraya. And you must also remember a small fact, that it is his birthday, Sir M. Visvesvaraya's birthday, which falls on 15 September, that we celebrate as Indian Engineers Day. So you have to remember all these facts. So recently, India's biggest floating solar power plant has come up in Ramagundam city of Telangana. So please remember, this is the biggest floating and not the biggest solar plant. Floating is the keyword. Biggest floating solar plant. So a few facts. Where is this floating solar plant situated? In Ramagundam. So where is Ramagundam? It is in the state of Telangana. So Ramagundam is a city situated on the banks of river Godavari. So in Ramagundam, there is a very big NTPC plant. So this NTPC used to have a reservoir. So you can see this is a reservoir owned by NTPC. So in this reservoir, NTPC has built this solar power plant. So that's why this is floating in water. So you have to remember, this is the biggest floating solar power plant of India as of today. It has just been inaugurated. Where? In Ramagundam. Who owns it? So obviously Government of India initiative, but the ownership is with National Thermal Power Corporation. So you have to remember that this is the biggest floating solar power plant. But if somebody asks you which is the biggest solar power plant, not floating, simply biggest solar power plant, so it is in Bhadla, Jodhpur, Rajasthan. So this is not the biggest solar power only of India, but world's largest solar power plant is in India only. It is at Bhadla, Jodhpur. But when it comes to floating solar power plant of our country, the answer would be Ramagundam. Now let's move to the next one. World's most powerful supercomputer has been made by Japan. So the name given to this supercomputer is Fugaku. So Fugaku, this supercomputer, was built after an effort of 6 years. So it took 6 years for the Japanese to build this. So this was done in joint collaboration of two Japanese institutes, Riken and Fujitsu. So these are the name of two Japanese educational and scientific development institutes, Riken and Fujitsu. What is the name of this supercomputer? Fugaku. Which country developed it? Japan. Now coming to India. So India also has developed many supercomputers. But out of all the supercomputers owned by India, two are world famous. So when we talk about all the supercomputers of the world, so if you talk about the top 500 supercomputers of the world, two Indian supercomputers make to that list. First is Param Siddhi and the second is Pratyush. So both names starts from P, so it will help your memory. Param Siddhi and Pratyush are the only two supercomputers of India that has been counted in the list of world's 500 best supercomputers. So you have to remember the name of Indian supercomputers as well. Now let's move to the next fact. So recently 17th BIMSTEC ministerial meeting has been concluded. So this was basically a virtual meeting, because you know that during the COVID times traveling of diplomats has been restricted, so it was a virtual meeting. So India was represented by our external affairs minister, and who is our external affairs minister? Mr. S. Jaisankar. So this meeting was held virtually, but the chairmanship of this meeting was with Sri Lanka, and the venue was the Sri Lankan capital of Colombo. Now many of you may not be aware that what is BIMSTEC. So it is a regional organization, just like SAARC. SAARC is a regional organization, or any other organization, international organization like NATO. So you can say, so BIMSTEC, full form of BIMSTEC: Bay of Bengal, B for Bay of Bengal, I for initiative, M for multi-sectoral, T for technical, E for economic, C for cooperation. So BIMSTEC. So BIMSTEC is basically an organization formed so that the countries which are located in and around of Bay of Bengal. So India is located on the shores of Bay of Bengal. Sri Lanka is located midway of, you can say it is an island country located in Bay of Bengal. So there are other countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan. So all these countries are located in or around Bay of Bengal. So all these countries are members of BIMSTEC. So what was the purpose of this meeting? What was the agenda of this meeting? So agenda of this meeting was connectivity master plan for these member countries. For example, suppose here is Sri Lanka, here is Bangladesh. So if a ship has to carry cargo from Sri Lanka to Bangladesh, so connectivity, increasing the connectivity, making more and more port facilities. Fine. So that was the agenda of this meeting. Now you have to know a few facts about BIMSTEC. So full form we already saw. So as of today there are 7 member countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Myanmar, Thailand and Sri Lanka. So BIMSTEC's headquarter, which is known as secretariat. So BIMSTEC's permanent secretariat is located at Dhaka, and current Secretary General of BIMSTEC is from Bhutan. So Bhutanese diplomat Mr. Tenzin Lekpel. Mr. Tenzin Lekpel is the current Secretary General. So you have to remember these few static facts about BIMSTEC. How many members? 7 members. So basically you can see most of them are neighboring countries of India. Except Thailand, all of these are neighboring countries of India. The next fact. So India is to give scholarships to heirs of Mukti Jodhas. So what are Mukti Jodhas? So let us understand. Mukti means freedom. Jodha means fighters or Yodhas. So freedom fighters who participated in the 1971 liberation of Bangladesh. You know that India and Pakistan fought a war in 1971, as a result of which Bangladesh was created. So Bangladesh have its own freedom fighters. So those freedom fighters are known in Bangla language as Mukti Jodhas. So their children or their grandchildren are known as heirs of Mukti Jodhas. So Indian government, as a friendly gesture, from 2006 onwards have been giving scholarship to these kids. So recently this scholarship have been increased. The number of scholarship have been increased. That's why it came in news. So this is started in 2006 itself, but it was renewed in 2017 when Bangladeshi Prime Minister Miss Sheikh Hasina Wajid visited India. Then it was renewed and extended to more number of students. So recently, this year, just a few days back, 2000 Bangladeshi students have been selected for this scholarship. So this was in news. So you have to remember Mukti Jodha scheme. This is a scheme of Indian government helping students of which country? Bangladesh. Let's move to the next one. So Sahi Disha, an initiative known as Sahi Disha, has been launched by UNDP. What is UNDP? UN, United Nations, D for development, P for program. So United Nations Development Program has partnered with IKEA Foundation. Now what is IKEA? It is world's biggest furniture company. So it is a Swedish company. So it's a multinational company and world's largest furniture manufacturers. So these two, United Nations Development Program and IKEA Foundation, have come together, have joined hands to help about 1 million Indian women, especially women living in rural areas. So what will they be doing? So the name of the initiative is Sahi Disha. Who has launched this initiative? United Nations Development Program in partnership with IKEA. Who is the target of this campaign? Rural women living in India, 1 million women. So what is the purpose of this campaign? To counsel these rural women, impart some skills to them so that they can earn their own livelihood and they can create jobs, rural jobs, self-sustaining jobs. So you have to remember Sahi Disha, UNDP, IKEA, target 1 million women. 1 million means 10 lakh women. So dear students, when you visit our website, you will get all the details of our programs, but in case if you have any doubts, you can reach out to us. You can see these numbers on our screen. So if you will click on these, you will get each and every detail you need. But still, if you have any doubt, you can call us on these numbers, or if you feel like writing a mail to us, most welcome. So this is our mail ID. But please, once this video is over, please give our website at least a visit. So whichever exam you are preparing for, you will find that we have a course for you. It is a well thought out course made only by expert teachers. So fine. So I hope you give us a visit and take some prudent decisions about your career. So let's move forward. So recently, first Indo-Korean park was inaugurated at Delhi Cantonment. Fine, as a symbol of friendship between these two countries, Indo-Korean, so India and South Korea. So why was this Indo-Korean park inaugurated? So it was inaugurated to celebrate the memory of Korean War. So when Korean War was taking place, you know what Korean War is? So there was no South Korea back then. So there was only Korea. So Korea got divided. So this is better way to draw Korea. Korea got divided into North and South Korea as a result of this war. So when this war was taking place, India has sent its peacekeeping forces. So to honor that friendship, India and Korea have built first Indo-Korean park. Where is the location? Delhi Cantonment. What is cantonment? Cantonment is an area where army people live. So it is basically, you can say, army area. So who inaugurated this park? So our defense minister, that means Indian defense minister and Korean defense minister, were present to inaugurate this park. So who is the Indian defense minister? You must be aware, Mr. Rajnath Singh. And who is the Korean defense minister? Mr. Suh Wok. So these two gentlemen together inaugurated this park. So you have to remember a few facts. Which country? India, South Korea. What is the location of the park? Delhi cantonment. To celebrate what? India's contribution in Korean War, because India has sent its peacekeeping force. Next news. Recently, a new offshore patrolling vehicle, OPV, offshore patrolling, that means keeping an eye on the ocean. So offshore patrolling vehicle known as Vajra was commissioned to the Indian Coast Guard. So actually our government of India had decided in 2015 that it is going to build 7 OPVs. So 5 OPVs have already been commissioned, and this is the 6th in the series. So what is the name of this vehicle? OPV vehicle? Vajra. So this OPV vehicle was built by Larsen and Toubro company because a contract was given to them by Ministry of Defence. So this Vajra was inducted at Chennai. So this was stationed at Chennai, and Chennai only ceremony was done and it was inducted. So who was present to induct this Vajra in Indian Coast Guard? So our Chief of Defence Staff, Mr. or you can say General Vipin Rawat. So General Vipin Rawat is currently Chief of Defence Staff. He is the first Chief of Defence Staff. So before him there was no such post. Fine. So he is the first ever Chief of Defence Staff. So a few facts. Name of the OPV, Vajra. Which company created this, or which company manufactured or built this? Larsen and Toubro company. How many OPVs have the Indian government order? 7 OPVs. So this is the 6th OPV that has just got commissioned. Now a few static facts. So who is the current Director General of Indian Coast Guard? Mr. Krishna Swamy Natarajan. Where is the headquarter of Indian Coast Guard situated? It is at New Delhi. Now let's move to next news. So this year, that means in 2021, marks the completion of 50 years. So this is the you can say 50 years celebration of 1971 war. So 1971 war was a war fought between India and Pakistan. The result was the creation of a new nation state known as Bangladesh. So India and Bangladesh are celebrating 50 years. Obviously Pakistan will not celebrate. So they are commemorating 50 years of defeating Pakistan in this war. So to celebrate this, our Air Force Chief, that means Indian Air Force Chief, Mr. RKS Bhadauria, went to Bangladesh on a four-day trip. So when he was on a trip on Bangladesh, he met with his counterpart, that means Bangladeshi Air Force Chief. They both exchanged gift. So our government gave to Bangladesh government Ole 3 helicopter, and in return Bangladesh gave to us F-86 Sabre aircraft. Now what is the significance of Ole helicopter and Sabre aircraft? So both these aircraft participated in 1971 war. So now both these, India will give Ole to Bangladesh, Bangladesh will give Sabre to us, and we will keep them in museum as a memory, as a souvenir, because these two helicopters have taken part in 1971 war. So just as a, you can say, piece of info, Ole 3 helicopter was manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautical Limited. So it was built by India only. Fine. So these were some of the important current affairs of recent days. So we keep on uploading such videos from time to time. Almost 3 to 4 such videos you can find on our YouTube channel every week. So I would request you that if you are really serious with your preparation, So please subscribe to our channel so that whenever we upload these kind of videos, it reaches to you. You get to know that we have uploaded such videos. And subscribing doesn't take money. We are not asking for money. You can simply subscribe. And if you have liked this video, so as an encouragement, please hit the like button. Even if you have disliked this video, if you did not find this video interesting, or you found that it could have been better, you can comment in the comment section below. It will help us improve.